I think it's going up. Excellent. Okay, now we are on the air also. Okay, let me start from the beginning. I will say, Rabbi Yehuda Levi is trying to show us, I will say, the preferences between two values. I will call it like that. You know, all of the things that we need to adjust in our world is the question of the values. This is what I also, the message that I sent before Shabbat. Okay, how exactly we're deciding that what values we prefer one against each other when they're getting a clash. What is the measurement that is deciding for us what are the values that we prefer? Okay, for example, we know mercy killing, for example. There are two values. One is when we see someone that is very suffering, and the other value is the value of life. And we need to decide what value we prefer. Now, the measurement that we take, okay, about those values, or how to decide what value we prefer, we can take our own brain, okay, measurement, or we can decide to listen to the words of God, the infinite, that is coming from outside of this world. Now, there are two values, and now I'm going to speak more specifically about what's happening in the Kuzari book, in the stage that we are. There are two values. One value is the people that God have chosen and created as a nation that will bring back the unity to the world. This is a Hebrew nation. The other value is that God is telling them how to behave. Now, if they won't behave in the right way, in the Christian mode, you say, because the reason that they were chosen is because of their behavior. If they're not behaving in the right way, so they are not the chosen anymore. But this is one of the reasons, now we're going to learn here, one of the reasons why the Christian, we'll say, authority decided that the Christian people are not allowed to read the Old Testament. Because in the Old Testament we see all of the Old Testament, that God is preferring the Hebrew people if they will behave in the right way, or even if they won't. If they won't behave in the right way, God will punish them with an exile, with other punishments. But the Hebrew people are chosen, and God is demanding from them to behave in one way. And if they won't behave, He will deal with them. If they will behave, they will get more prizes. But it's not that they're going to lose the preference of God, that they are being chosen and they are supposed to do their mission. Now, what Rabbi Yehuda Levi is showing us, and we will see this in a moment in the Bible. I'm going to open the Bible. I'm not going to open the Kuzari. In a moment, you will see how much it's very similar, one-to-one, okay? He will show us that, I will say, the native way of this nation is to behave on the way of God. This is a native way. This is the fundamental way of the thoughts of this nation. And it's going together, okay? Unless something is bothering them, unless they're starting to think too much, unless something from outside is trying to convince them to behave differently. And on this, I will say, background, God is giving them also the 10 Commandments. It's going together. It's because God, I will say it like that, so it will be very clear, okay? There are two ways of deciding how to build my house. Let's say, for example, that God forbid, I have a boy that have disability, okay? One of my kids have disability. So I need a very large doors. It can be a normal door that is very narrow, right? The door is supposed to be very open. So we're able to move the wheelchair between the doors, between the places. There are a lot of things that I need to adjust in my home. There are two ways how to do that. Way number one is to find a nice place that I'm feeling good with, and to bring someone to fix the place that it will be organized for someone that with disabilities. Okay, fair enough. The other way is to go to someone that is designing the home and to invent from the beginning a home that will be like that. And this is the difference between Noach and the Hebrew nation. Noach, God was upset, as it's written down in the Bible. He was upset with the behavior of human in this world. So God decided to bring the flood. So he looked around the globe and he searched who is the best person that can continue on. And he found Noach. And it's written down. If you will read Noach for a moment, let me open the scripture of the Bible, okay? If we are reading it, we will see that Noach, I will say, with a lot of mercy, God decided that he will stay alive, okay? It wasn't I will say, his first preference of God. Okay, God gave him as a mercy for something like that. It's written down here. Can you see my screen, right? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, it's the next one. We see here, first of all, in those three verses, are very hard verses, okay? Please read this 5, 6, and 7.
5. And the Lord saw that the evil of man was great in the earth, and every imagination of his heart was only evil all the time. 6. And the Lord regretted that he had made man upon the earth, and he became grieved in his heart. 7. And the Lord said, I will blot out man, whom I created, from upon the face of the earth, from man to cattle to creeping thing, to the fowl of the heavens, for I regret that I made them.
It's very hard sentences to hear, okay? God is not a journalist that is exaggerating for his own sake, okay? That we will read it. God is speaking very exact, I'll say it like that. And suddenly we see here that he was very upset with the outcome of creating man. And then he's finding someone. Please read verse number 8.
Number 8, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord.
It's a favor, okay? The Christian people, when they're reading this, they're saying, even if it says in verse number 9 that Noah was also righteoushood, it's written down in verse number 9 that Noah was righteoushood, okay? But still, you need to have favor from God, that he will rescue you from your sins. This is how the Christian world is reading it. The Hebrew tradition is reading it differently, but the most important thing here to see that Noah was chosen not because he was righteous. He was chosen because God said he is the best person here that I can take, for example, okay? If you will compare this to Abraham, with Abraham, God is deciding one day, suddenly, to speak with him. He is creating him from the beginning. It's like those two differences that we spoke about at home. Instead of just trying to find who is the best person here in this world, like with Noah, God is creating a new nation. And the nation that he's creating is a Hebrew nation. And this is coming much before the Hebrew nation is going to get how to behave, okay? Because the Hebrew nation is the background to whom we can give the Bible, to whom we can give, with whom God can speak, and to whom God can give the way how to behave in life. And now, if it's clear very enough, if not, ask a question, because we're going to jump to Exodus. Everything is clear now? Still now? Till now? Everything is fine? Okay. In Exodus, I will say in a one glimpse the whole book of Exodus. Okay, it's being split into two. The first part is going out from Egypt. Let my people go. The second part is building up what we call the tabernacle, okay? What will become later on the Temple Mount, okay? Those are the two parts of the Exodus. In the first part, at the beginning, there are the 10 pledges, what God is punishing the Egyptians. And then we have the outcome of the Hebrew nation going out from Egypt. And especially with this amazing thing that God split the sea, and the Hebrew nation went through the sea. And we have in chapter 15, a very big song, okay, praising God for rescuing the Hebrew nation through the sea, okay. This is the song in 15. And in chapter 20, 19 is a preparation and 20 is in a practical way. God is giving the 10 commandments. What is happening in between? Okay, they went out from Egypt. The sea was split and they went past the sea. But there are something like 3 more chapters between the split of the sea, the miracle of the sea, and the 10 commandments. What exactly is happening there between those two? So if you remember, Rabbi Levi is saying that the beginning of this nation was just like the creation. Suddenly, Moses and Aaron came, said to them, "You are not slave anymore. We're going to take you out from there." 10 pledges. I mean, the Israelite people went out from Egypt. Okay, this was the beginning. And then they're getting the 10 commandments, but there's something inside between chapter 16, 17, and 18. Now, 18, let's be clear. 18 is Jethro that is giving to the Hebrew nation. I will say the oral Bible of the behavior between men with his fellow men. Okay, Jethro is giving all the idea how exactly to do the structure of judgment. Judgment is the connection between men and his fellow men. This is chapter 18. And it's very important to remember that the relationship between men and his fellow men is not closed in the Hebrew nation. Therefore, Jethro, that is an outsider from the Hebrew nation, he was the father-in-law of Moses, but he wasn't the Jewish person. Okay, he is coming and teaching the Hebrew nation that. So we remember all the time that the foundation of the 10 commandments will start with not from the Hebrew nation, with the relationship that we have with others. It's related also with the Noachide. So this is chapter 18, fair enough. But here we finish chapter 15. And from chapter 15 till chapter 18, we have another 2 chapters. Okay, and this is what I ask you to see, to look at it. Okay, so let's see what's happening in chapter 16 and 17. In chapter 16 and chapter 17, what is happening is that there is the miracle of the manna. Okay, so we have the creation of the nation in Egypt and in the sea. We have the 10 commandments, and before that, as the beginning of this, or as the foundation of this, will be that Jethro is coming. And in the middle, we have the manna. The manna. What are they going to eat in the next coming 40 years? Okay, we don't know yet that it's 40 years. They thought that it's only going to be 1 year or something like that. They did the sin and whatever it is, so it happened for 40 years. But they need to eat, they need to drink. So they're going to eat the manna, and this is what we have here. Okay, where in the beginning, they're starting to crying. Okay, please read verse number 2.
Number 2, the entire community of the children of Israel complained against Moses and against Aaron in the desert.
Now, this is an amazing complaint. Please read verse number 3.
Verse 3, the children of Israel said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by pots of meat, when we ate bread to our fill. For you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire congregation to death.
I think for 70 years, they didn't eat so nicely, you know. It was only last 6 months that they stopped becoming slaves. But even though everybody, sorry, everybody remembers always only the last few months, not all of the 70 years. Fair enough. And this is where God is saying to them, fair enough, look good. To whom God is speaking in verse number 4? To whom he said it? To Moses. Please read for a moment, verse number 4 and 5.
Verse 4, so the Lord said to Moses, behold, I am going to rain down for you bread from heaven, and the people shall go out and gather what is needed for the day, so that I can test them, whether or not they will follow my teaching. 5, and it shall be on the 6th day that when they prepare what they will bring, it will be double of what they gather every day.
So God is saying to Moses, and we saw this last time also from Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, that there is going to be a special blessing on the 6th day, where the manna is going to be double amount, and on the 7th day, it's going to be so holy this day that the manna won't come down from heaven. And whatever they will prepare in the 6th day, they will be able to eat in the 7th day, right? Till here, everything is fine. Now, please let me know. Let's see for a moment what Moses and Aaron is going to tell them. Let's read. Let's start. 6 and 7.
6. Thereupon Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, in the evening, you shall know that the Lord brought you out of the land of Egypt. 7. And in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord when he hears your complaints against the Lord. But of what significance are we that you make the people complain against us?
So I'm saying, evening and morning, is he speaking about Shabbat? Is he mentioning that something is going to be here on Friday, special on Friday? Nothing, right? Okay. And at 8 also, he's saying to them, listen, you're going to get bread from the manna from heaven. Fair enough. Let's continue on. And they saw, if you will read it, you will see that it's the same thing that God is saying to them, and he's also giving them some meat, okay, through this special bird that is going to come. And in verse number 14, we see, please read verse number 14.
14. The layer of dew went up, and behold, on the surface of the desert, a fine, bare substance, as fine as frost on the ground.
And they didn't know what it is. Fair enough, this is a manna. And they said one to each other, okay, one to another. This is, it is manna. The word manna in Hebrew is, what is it? Man, what is it? Okay. And this is where, again, Moses is telling them something to do. Please read for a moment what Moses is telling them to do. 16, we need to read 16, 17, 16, 17, and 18, please.
16. This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. Gather of it each one according to his eating capacity, an omer for each person, according to the number of persons, each one for those in his tent you shall take. 17. And the children of Israel did so. They gathered both the one who gathered much and the one who gathered little. 18. And they measured it with an omer, and whoever gathered much did not have more, and whoever gathered little did not have less. Each one according to his eating capacity they gathered.
And all this Moses is telling them. So again, I have two questions that we see here. First of all, is Moses speaking with them about Shabbat? He got obeyed, or God told him okay, about Shabbat, that he's supposed on Friday to have twice amount, and on Saturday there won't be anything. But he never spoke with the Hebrew people about it, right? Point number one. Point number two that we see here, again, it's Moses that said to them, okay? We see this in verse number 15. Point number two that we see here is that Moses is telling them, look, this is the amount that you have to take for each person. For each head, there's a special amount. That's it. Not more than that, not less. And there were people who worked very hard, and there were people who worked very without any efforts, okay? But still, everybody only gathered the same amount that they were supposed to gather, right? Fair enough. And then Moses is telling them also another thing. He's telling them, Moses told them, no one leave over any of it until the morning. And there were people who did it, even though they did it, right? But some men did not obey Moses and left over some. Fair enough. And then let's see what's happening in day number 6. Okay, please read. First of all, verse number 22.
22. It came to pass on the 6th day that they gathered a double portion of bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the princes of the community came and reported it to Moses.
Why did they report it to Moses? Because in verse number 20, we see that those who left over, what happened to it? Was a lot of worms, right? And it bred worms and became putrid, right? So they understood that they're not supposed to do that. And every morning they gathered, every morning and did it. Suddenly, on Friday, they had a problem. They gathered twice amount. They came to Moses and said to him, what is happening here? So let's see what Moses is answering them. Please read verse number 23.
23. So he said to them, that is what the Lord spoke. Tomorrow is a rest day, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake whatever you wish to bake and cook whatever you wish to cook, and all the rest leave over to keep until morning.
But in the first days, whatever was kept came with a lot of worms, right? So let's see what's happening in 24. Please read
24. So they left it over until morning as Moses had commanded, and it did not become putrid, and not a worm was in it.
Amazing. Okay, and then Moses is telling them, now Moses is telling them, this is what's happening on Friday and Saturday. What we see here, that they behave naturally, exactly in the way that God said to Moses that they're going to behave. It's not that Moses commanded them on Friday and Saturday what to do. They behaved it, and Moses explained to them, this is what God told me. Because the natural way of the behavior of the Hebrew nation is to behave in the way that God is telling them to do, or God implemented inside them. Starting to realize, before we're going to give the Bible, or the commandments, to the Hebrew nation, God is speaking. We need to understand. I will try to explain this in another way, okay? At this point of time, okay, we have an appointment every Sunday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock at summertime, 10 o'clock at winter time, okay? We have an appointment at this time. Who is here in this class that is listening to this? We are, I don't know, today we are 3 people, usually we have a few more people from, from South Africa, Southern Asia, okay? And there are people also who are listening to us after that on the internet. Now, I'm speaking with all of the world. Or we are speaking, all of us, together with all of the world. We don't care. Everybody can come to this class, right? But we're speaking to specific people. There's a difference, okay? For example, part of the questions that you all the time asking me is related with the things that we are speaking with. So we have a conversation. If someone will come from outside and he believes in I will say, in a Christian idolatry, or he believes in other, I don't know what, I don't care. For him, the words that we're going to speak here is going to be unreasonable. He won't be able to listen to them. Let's take, for example, that someone will come here to this class and he is totally don't believe not in God, not in spiritual, not in anything else. He is interested only with, I will call it, with money, okay? How to bring more money to his life. So all the things that we're going to speak here, for him, it's he won't be able to listen to this. God is speaking with the Hebrew nation. What we see in this chapter, and this chapter and the other chapter also, it's continuing on, okay? What we see that God, who created this nation from Egypt and took them out, just like Rabbi Levi explained, like a miracle way, just like he created the world. He created a nation that is related with him, that he can speak with, that he will tell, when he will tell to Moses in secret, in a secret way. Listen, they're going to keep the Shabbat. Okay? They will do this even though they didn't hear that God spoke with Moses, and Moses didn't tell them what God told him. This is their natural behavior. This is why God is speaking with them. This is why the verse that God spoke with Moses, that he will tell to the Hebrew people, the Israelite people, this is the most, we have it 70 times in the Bible, in the part of the Bible of the Old Testament, what the people are calling Old Testament. Because this is I will call the soulmate, okay, between God and the Israelite people. And this is exactly what Rabbi Levi is showing us. He is speaking about the miracle way of the creation of the Hebrew nation. Then he is speaking about the manna, and then he will speak about the 10 commandments that God is giving to the Hebrew nation. But now we're getting it in the right context. The Hebrew nation is the soulmate of God in this world. God is guiding them how to behave in the right way, while they know how to do this also by themselves, because this is how God created this Hebrew nation. And if they won't behave or won't obey to all the words of God, he will punish them. Fair enough. But it's not that he's going to say to them, okay, fair enough, I'm going to replace you. This won't happen. And this is what we see here in the beginning. And this is also what happened with this at night, that most of the people didn't left any, okay? Moses told them, no one leave over anything, or even if they worked hard or worked less, everybody gathered the exact amount, not more than that. And most of the people didn't left. There were people who left. We can say this in two ways, that there were people who decided to test God, to test, there are always people like that. And you can also say that people left it over, so God will show everybody what will happen if you will leave it over. Okay, fair enough. Always there are the people, when you have masses of people, there will be always those who are testing things and won't go in the right way, in the direct right way. And they will get punished, fair enough. Especially in those days, they got punished straight ahead. What we see here, that without explaining to the Hebrew nation exactly what to do, they behaved in the right way. Now, if we will jump back to the Kuzari, and we have, by the way, we see here again that there are, it came about that in the seventh day, some of the people also went out to gather the manna. Okay, again, we see that there are always those who are not 100% listening and obeying to everything. Fair enough, but the masses of the people are going with the right way. And then we have also, again, the Shabbat. Okay, speaking about the Shabbat. You see, this is the end of this chapter, and the next chapter is a short one, where first of all, there's also the miracle of the water, okay, that they're getting water for 40 years in the desert, and then we have also the fight against Amalek. We're not going to know now all of these things, but we will go back. Let's jump back for a moment I need to stop another 5 minutes, but let's jump back for a moment to the Kuzari. Where is it? Let me tell me that I'll find it in straight ahead. No. I'm sorry. Can you see my screen? Enough. It is. Go up. Can you see my? Please. Yes. Can you see my screen still? Can you see my screen? Can you see the Kuzari now?
No.
Can't see the Kuzari, Rabbi. I can see your, looks like your desktop.
Now we can see the Kuzari, right? Let me show you.
It's there.
Yes. Okay. So now we are in. You remember the exact numbers?
I think it was close to 87. It was a very long verse.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So we asked. So at the beginning, he's saying in 83, 84 that it was a divine explosion, okay, of the Hebrew nation and the tradition and the behavior of the Hebrew nation, or the religion of the Hebrew nation. It's not religion because it's more nation, okay. And then suddenly he's speaking about. We can read 85, 86, please.
85, the rabbi. And later on, when they came to the desert, which was not sown, he sent them food, which, with the exception of Sabbath, was created daily for them, and they ate it for 40 years. 86, Kuzari. This also is irrefutable, viz. A thing which occurred to 600,000 people for 40 years. 6 days in the week the manna came down, but on the Sabbath it stopped. This makes the observance of the Sabbath obligatory, since divine ordination is visible in it.
So we have here, look good. We have even now, we're going to climb up few levels of understanding. First of all, we see that the structure of the Kuzari is exactly as the structure of the Exodus. We have the miracle creation of the Hebrew nation, okay, with the 10 pledges to the Egyptians, going out miraculously from there, starting from nothing, okay, the full nation. And the structure of the Exodus is continuing with this part of the manna with the 6 days and Shabbat, and that it's, I will call it, we explained it as the normal behavior of the Hebrew nation. And only after that, God will give the 10 commandments. And the same thing we see that he explained the miracle creation of the Hebrew nation in 83, 84. Now he's speaking about the Shabbat, few words, and from there on he will continue to the 10 commandments. And we have what to speak about the 10 commandments. So we have here something very similar to what happened in the, this is one point. Point number 2 that we see here is that God, holiness, okay, the Shabbat, he gave this day something very holy, because in the 6th day, he blessed the 6th day, he blessed the 6th day twice for giving something for the Shabbat, and he holied the 6th day, the 7th day, without taking the manna down. So now it's bringing the Shabbat to become something very obligated for us. We are very obligated to this day. Another thing that the Kuzari is speaking here, hinting here in those 2 short verses, he is saying, listen, for 40 years is not one day, okay? Think about ourselves, okay? What is 40 years? Go, for example, now, to the generation that is coming inside to Israel, and try to speak with each one of those 600,000 people and ask them, what did you eat for 40 years? Now, if it's a lie, okay, that there wasn't this manna, so people will say, we ate, we bought food from here, we took food from there. I think here, grew up because we lost one of the third place of the world that is giving wheat to the world, right? Those are things that we all know them today. How much is complicated to organize all of this? Now you're taking a nation with 600,000 people from only males, okay, from the age of 20 to the age of 60, and they have also the families, and you giving them food for 40 years. They're not working for this food. They're not doing anything. The only thing that they're doing each morning, they're waking up, they're saying to themselves, good morning, good morning. They're now stretching their eyes, going out from their tent and starting to collect the manna to eat. That's it. It's a bit more or less, we didn't read it, but the next chapter is also speaking about the water that they have for 40 years. And it's reminding us a bit the era of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, who don't need to prepare for themselves any food, right? Nothing. They have everything there in the Garden of Eden, right? The same thing for the 40 years for the Hebrew nation. 40 years, not one day, not 1 week, not 1 month, not 1 year, 40 years. You know what it is? This is the best miracle that I could ever think about. Okay? So those are the 3 points that he's mentioning here, the Kuzari. It's only 2 small paragraphs, but they are very powerful points. But I need to read all the questions that you sent me. If I didn't give answers for everything, so we'll see. Okay. I need to go, but I have another 2 minutes and we can speak, but and then I need to go. Please, if there is any question, something that you want to mark, if not, we'll finish. Everything is clear. It's a problem. I'm speaking too clear enough. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, but we're starting to realize. I will say another note, and then we'll conclude. We have one of the great rabbis that was written. He was living 100 years before Biudalevi. Okay, we're speaking about the beginning of the more than 1,000 years ago. Okay, he wrote down that all of the miracles, he's not very impressed of them. God have no problems to do any miracles, he said. Okay, it's like when you're sitting in the dark and suddenly you see the light, a thunderstorm that is coming for a moment, and you're very, you're looking for something, you're saying to yourself, I'm blind for a moment, and that's it. But he said the main miracle that was really amazing was the manna, because for 40 years, every morning, God did this miracle, and after 40 years, he stopped. So for 40 years, it's one of the most amazing miracles that we know. And on the other side, that's it. Enough is enough. So this is amazing. So you see that God is controlling the nature in a full presidency by this miracle. Fair enough. Another point to think about, but it is a true one. But we saw a few things, very important things today. Okay, fair enough. I think that it's very late for you, Brian, so it's okay. I hope that
okay.
that you're learning good things from us with the things that we're doing here. Okay, foundation of the faith. This is it. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Rabbi. Goodbye,
Bye.
Bart.
Have a good week. Bye.
You too. We'll catch you next Sunday.
Yeah.